Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Vortex, where lies and falsehoods are trapped and exposed. I'm Michael Voris. As we promised you, Church Militant is going to be vigilant and relentless in exposing the filthy squalor into which many members of the hierarchy have descended. And the point to keep uppermost in your mind is that this stuff, all of it, has been known and is still known by multiple bishops, chancery, personnel, lawyers, Catholic media types who all continue the cover-up. It's of little significance except from a criminal law standpoint if what happened was 2 years ago or 20 years ago. All of this filth stains the hands of the dozens of people who did it, as well as covered it up, as well as enabled it back in the day, and still continue to enable it by refusing to come forward with what they know. Many of the rats who were running around their chanceries back in the day are today bishops or auxiliary bishops who know many dark secrets and simply refuse to divulge them, especially their own role in the filthy business. Take, for example, the case of Father Andrew Millar from the Diocese of Rockville Center, New York, back around the year 2000. In May of that year, Millar was arrested for sodomizing a 15-year-old mentally disturbed teenage boy in a bathroom at a popular beach on Long Island. In November of the same year, a finding of guilty got him a prison sentence of 1 to 3 years. Now here's the hitch. Millar was roaming about and able to commit what detectives called a crime of opportunity because he was living near the beach in retirement at a Rockville Center parish. The reason he was retired and living at the parish was because he had been stashed away there by then Bishop James McHugh after Millar had been accused to the diocese of sexually abusing a different child, this one a 10-year-old boy. McHugh did not tell the police he had had a child molester on his hands, then shipped Millar off to the notorious St. Luke's in Maryland for a few months, then brought him back to the diocese and retired him to the parish. 8 months later, he got caught raping the 15-year-old boy by the boy's father at the beach bathroom. The boy's father chased him down and held Millar until the police arrived. So, why, may you reasonably ask, did the bishop retire him? Good question. To shuttle him away, hoping he would not rape any more boys in retirement. And retirement here was key, because McHugh's lawyers tried to assert in the civil suit which followed, since he was retired, he was no longer an employee of the diocese, so the diocese shouldn't be held financially liable. Yeah, you heard that right. If, Bishop McHugh reasoned, we could reclassify the rapist priest as a non-employee, then the diocese would be shielded from liability. You can't make this stuff up. And did we mention McHugh was made a bishop by, drumroll please, homo predator Theodore McCarrick. Shock. And as the saying goes, but wait, there's more. McHugh actually wrote a letter to Millar regarding his retirement, and in that letter, McHugh, the bishop, remember, knowing full well of the sexual assault against the 10-year-old, thanked Millar for his 41 years of priestly goodness. 8 months later, Millar sodomized the mentally disabled teenage boy. And believe it or not, there's actually more. During the criminal trial, McHugh actually intervened on behalf of Millar, who'd been declared guilty, and tried to have the court forego a prison sentence and remand Millar over to the diocese, seemingly forgetting that Millar had already been under the authority of the diocese when he raped the boy that he was now facing sentencing for. The bishop, through his attorneys, actually had the audacity to suggest to the court that Millar be handed over to the bishop, who would then transfer him to a facility in the western United States where he could receive counseling. The bishop never discussed that neither he nor the diocese have any jurisdiction in the western U.S., nor that Millar would owe absolutely zero allegiance to the bishop since he was retired. In short, Bishop McHugh intervened to have the rapist priest, that, by the way, he knew had abused at least 2 boys, the case of the original boy not known by the court or law enforcement at the time of the sentencing. That would come out in a civil case. He intervened to have him go completely scot-free, unsupervised. Now, to show the spiritual insanity further of all of this, there was at the same time this case that was going on with Millar, another case with one of McHugh's priests, a Father Murphy, who had been arrested falsely for trespassing at an abortuary. Father Murphy had in fact not trespassed at all, but had to undergo the charge by the child killers that are commonly hurled at prayer warriors in front of the killing centers. Catholics directly petitioned McHugh and asked him if he would intervene in the case of Father Murphy, and the cold-blooded, hypocritical response of McHugh was, paraphrasing here closely, "I will not intervene in a case I have not been invited to intervene in." So when it comes to protecting a known and convicted homo-predator rapist, McHugh intervenes to try and get him released. But in the case of another one of his priests who had not broken the law, McHugh defers and hides behind proper decorum. Pro-life clergy fighting abortion? Drop dead. Sodomy-performing priests raping teenage boys? Yeah. McHugh went on to say that the request for him to do something about Father Murphy and his abortion trespassing case was abusive. His words, abusive. Yet when the father of the 15-year-old mentally disturbed rape victim was made aware of McHugh's letter to Millar thanking him for his priestly goodness, the father said he was furious about the bishop's letter, I bet, saying the entire incident, quote, eats me up alive. Apparently that doesn't count as abusive because the bishop is allowed to dump on victims and cover up crimes. And by the way, just one more thing on the topic of covering up crimes, McHugh didn't just intervene in Millar's case knowing full well that he had sexually assaulted a 10-year-old prior to this case. He actually expressed in public, in no uncertain, clear as bell terms, that this was for Father Millar, quote, the first time to engage in such an act, closed quote. Well, why not throw perjury in while you're at it then? So, who were the men and women? Who were the priests? Who were the lawyers working in the chancery at Rockville Center back in 2000? How do they sleep at night? Wasn't that long ago. The judge in the case, thankfully, disregarded McHugh's ridiculous intervention. Millar was shipped off to prison. As for McHugh, 3 weeks after Millar went to prison, he died. God love you. I'm Michael Voris.